Blake Lively's most infamous moments often led to lawsuits, but there are many more shocking incidents that might surprise you as we dive into some of her most unbelievable actions. One standout moment involved a surprising interaction with producer Jamie Heath. Not only was Jamie a producer on set, but he's also the CEO of Wayfarer Studios and a close friend of Justin's, making this situation even more notable. During one instance on set, Blake requested a meeting in her trailer with Jamie and other executives. When Jamie knocked and was invited in, he walked into a scene where Blake was having makeup removed from her collarbone while breastfeeding, not topless, and asked if he should return later. Blake, however, insisted the meeting proceed as planned, but things took an unexpected turn 2 weeks later when Blake told Jamie she had noticed him making eye contact with her during that moment. Jamie quickly apologized, explaining he hadn't meant to make her uncomfortable, yet the situation grew even more bizarre when Blake reportedly responded, "I know you weren't trying to cop a look." This interaction raised eyebrows, as Blake's offense over Jamie's eye contact carried troubling undertones. Historically, during slavery, black men could face severe consequences, even execution, for simply making eye contact with white women, a horrifying reality. Jamie, a black man, found himself in an uncomfortable position where Blake's reaction to something as normal as eye contact seemed disproportionate. Adding fuel to the controversy is the fact that Blake held her wedding on a former slavery plantation, further amplifying the problematic nature of her remarks. This incident paints a troubling picture and continues to spark criticism of her actions. Blake choosing to have her wedding on land where slavery once existed says a lot about her awareness. It ties into the issues she had with Jamie, as her comment about him not having the right to make eye contact feels rooted in troubling history. It gets worse when you consider that Blake has also said she admires fashion from the slavery era. No matter how you look at it, these actions don't make her look good. Also, she once said she had to cosplay as a black girl to become a geek who stalks boys, which is disturbing.
My best friend and I, when we were in 10th grade, we had like crazy crushes. We would drive around, like stalk these guys. We decided one night to go to the arcade where they were, and I put bronzer all over myself in a Scary Spice fro, so I thought they would think I was like a black girl, and so I could stalk them.
However, her unhinged moments go beyond being racist, as her past keeps showing some weird things that Blake has said.
Read the gossip magazines and everybody is dating everyone, everybody hates everyone, everybody's like had tons of plastic surgery and we're actually men and trannies.
While that was terrible, Blake continued to show how far she could go in displaying her state of mind to establish her point, no matter how ridiculous it might sound. Blake's text in one of her texts to Justin reads, "If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you." In this scenario, Blake refers to her husband, Ryan, and her best friend, Taylor Swift, as her dragons, who will spit fire at her command. While the statement might seem playful, it also comes off as a bit ridiculous because Blake essentially gave away a spoiler for how she expects the trial to go. In Game of Thrones, Khaleesi controls dragons and wields power, but Jon Snow, known for his man bun, ultimately defeats her. Some might view her comment as careless, but it also shows how Blake's words sometimes backfire. If she had thought it through, she might have realized the irony of comparing herself to Khaleesi, considering how her story ends. The situation with Justin, who could easily be likened to Jon Snow, doesn't play out on a battlefield like in Game of Thrones, but in court, where Blake's comparison seems to predict the outcome. Blake Lively's most known work happens to be Gossip Girl, where a lot also happened behind the scenes, with many rumors and facts to go along with it. However, Blake made some very insane moves during the Gossip Girl tour, as you wouldn't predict the derogatory comment she made about her former co-star Leighton Meester.
Well, some of them started. Yeah.
When she made that statement, Blake pointed to Leighton even though she was beside her to further show that she was referring to her. This is wild because she also made similar jokes calling her co-stars monkeys on that press tour.
Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
She's got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
And then went ahead to say Leighton started life from the cage, which is a direct shade to Leighton, who was born in prison. Leighton has publicly spoken about her story and how her parents were behind bars when she was born.
My parents had been part of a very interesting lifestyle, I guess you could say.
They were in prison?
Yes, okay.
My parents had been part of a very interesting lifestyle, I guess you could say. They were in prison, yes, okay, but that wasn't the only time Blake came for Leighton on that press tour. It's hilarious because Leighton is naturally blonde, but had to dye her hair to portray her role in Gossip Girl. But Blake was trying to say blondes are nicer because Leighton wasn't blonde in the show. And that speaks about her character and how she likes to compare herself with Leighton on who's nicer based on their character's hair color. Blake's weird moments keep getting even wilder as we break down another one for you, where Blake loved the compliment crown straightener so much that she couldn't stop talking about it.
Social media's calling you a crown straightener. I said, what's that? She said, a woman who goes around straightening other women's crowns. And I was just like, oh, it was just like the best compliment I've ever been given.
And the whole time this was because Blake controls and tries to adjust people's movements and appearances in public. Also, it's almost like every interview Blake has done is unhinged based on how she answers questions, but also due to how her co-stars react whenever she's speaking by being numb as if they can't believe whatever is coming from her mouth. The following interview further proves the point.
Make a movie that about the female emotion, and it's just hysterical women. And I was like, no, women also want to listen to Tom.
It wasn't speculation when people said Blake was aiming for a Barbie and Oppenheimer effect when it ends with Us and Deadpool hit the theaters as she did everything possible to get people to see.
Deadpool Wolverine sold out. I'm sorry, I got distracted back there. I feel offended, but we're not out yet, that's fine. I'm happy about that. No, I didn't even answer it. Sorry, it's like flashing sold out.
It's interesting to note the parallels between the two films, with Ryan joking about Justin using the cool, laid-back character with a man bun. However, it never turned into the Barbie and Oppenheimer level discussion that Blake was hoping for. Blake Lively's lack of accountability seems to be a recurring theme, highlighted by another moment where she chose not to read the book the film was based on before filming. While many actors pride themselves on diving deep into their characters, reading countless documents, or watching hours of footage to better understand their roles, Blake, dismissing the primary source material for her movie, comes across as unprofessional and disrespectful to the craft. This isn't the first time Blake has stirred controversy on set. In 2017, during the wave of allegations against Harvey Weinstein by women like Angelina Jolie and Cara Delevingne, Blake shared her own experience of harassment on set. Without revealing specific details about the set or the year, she recounted how a makeup artist repeatedly behaved inappropriately. She described how he would say unsettling things, insist on applying her lipstick with his finger, and even filmed her while she was asleep, fully clothed but in a disturbingly voyeuristic way. After reporting his behavior to the producers and seeing no action taken, Blake eventually filed a formal complaint, leading to the makeup artist's termination. While it's understandable that Blake may have felt unsafe and took appropriate action, doubts about her story have persisted. Justin highlighted that her version of events can't always be conclusive without hearing both sides. Additionally, there has been speculation that the makeup artist in question might have been black, which aligns with earlier claims suggesting Blake may harbor racist tendencies or avoids working with black people. What's less well known is that Blake has also been accused of betraying someone close to her by allegedly encouraging and covering up cheating. Deborah Lee Furness, Hugh Jackman's ex-wife, reportedly made this claim, expressing anger over how Blake acted friendly toward her while knowing what was happening behind the scenes. Hugh and Deborah were married for 27 years before their divorce in 2023. Given that Hugh is best friends with Ryan, Blake had a close relationship with Deborah as well, until this alleged betrayal strained the bond. After Hugh was publicly linked to Sutton Foster, Deborah Lee felt deeply betrayed by Blake and Ryan, believing they knew about the relationship before it became public. Instead of looking out for her, they allegedly covered for Hugh. An insider close to Deborah Lee stated, Deb always suspected Blake and Ryan would side with Hugh after the split. What hurt her most was the idea that they knew about his connection with Sutton and chose to stay silent. Despite her struggles to connect with Blake due to their differences, Deborah genuinely thought they shared a cordial relationship, one that might have at least prepared her for the breakdown of her 27-year marriage to Hugh. Blake's behavior has often been at odds with the image she tries to project. For instance, she was reportedly offended when Justin asked for her weight to ensure he could safely lift her without worsening his back infection. Yet, she had no issue suggesting Justin get nose surgery. Blake strongly urged Justin to get a rhinoplasty, a comment she left out of her legal filings, unaware that Justin's microphone had recorded the conversation. According to the lawsuit, Lively's comment about Baldoni's nose is also captured on camera. Rather than dwell on it, Baldoni chose to brush it off and move on with the scene. However, Blake's most shocking move was targeting Justin during one of the most vulnerable times in his life. While Justin and his family were evacuating from the devastating Los Angeles wildfires, gathering their kids, pets, and go bags as neighborhoods burned around them, Blake's team tracked him down to serve him with the lawsuit. This timing has been widely criticized as it added stress and chaos to an already traumatic situation. It was cruel of Blake to send servers into a dangerous evacuation zone while she remained in the comfort of her home in New York City. What's even more shocking is that Blake and Ryan reportedly expected Justin to step up and defend Blake publicly when the controversy began spreading. They didn't approach this kindly either. Instead, they allegedly threatened Justin and even provided him with a pre-written statement to read to the public, attempting to control him even after filming wrapped to protect their reputation while fans started picking sides. According to prior agreements for It Ends With Us, 1% of the film's proceeds were set to be donated to support survivors of domestic violence. However, once Blake joined the production, she refused to meet with No More, an organization dedicated to raising awareness and inspiring action against DV. Her decision not to engage with such an important cause demonstrated a lack of sensitivity toward the movie's subject matter. Instead, Blake reportedly treated the film as a romantic comedy, trivializing its deeper themes. To make matters worse, Blake used the movie to promote her own business ventures, even naming one of the drinks in her alcoholic line after Ryle, a character in the story. This not only showed a lack of respect for the film's message, but also highlighted her tendency to prioritize her brand over the important issues the movie aimed to address. Despite all this, It Ends With Us is now in theaters. So if you're planning to see it, maybe leave the florals behind and approach it with a more thoughtful perspective than Blake seemed to.